Hey everyone, this is Sean. I'm here to play the Great Cave Offensive sub-game of Kirby Super Star for the Super Nintendo, and sort of just comment on some of its design as a way to kind of just think about it in relation to other games, and also kind of like even the Ocean, the game I'm working on right now. Yeah, so I did a recording of this earlier, and I ended up like messing it up or muting it about 5 seconds in. So just gonna redo it. Anyways, and it's good because it'll be a little bit less awkward, even though it'll probably end up being awkward. Anyways, so if you haven't played this game before, the premise is that Kirby has fallen down from the outside and now has to get through to escape. And for some reason, he has to collect treasures. He. Is Kirby a he? Did I just gave him a gender? Okay. Sorry. Yeah. And the gameplay is normal, otherwise it's just the standard Kirby, get abilities and do stuff. And so, the premise of the game is just to get these treasure boxes and collect treasures. The most gold you can get is, I think, 1 million in total when you find everything. Maybe 10 million or something. Anyways, so the first stage is kind of this jungle area, and what's interesting about Great Cave Offensive is that it's kind of like an open world, which is different from a lot of other Kirby games that are usually stage-based. And so what you have is, some branching paths. You can miss stuff, not permanently, but you can rush to the end of the stages and not get everything, basically. I actually don't think there's like other than the percentage icon and the file select, I don't think there's actually a motivation for getting the treasures other than just getting them, because the game doesn't require you to get any treasures. Anyways, I just want to talk about this first place a bit, and I think it has a very good blow-in design. I know it's weird to call something blow-in, because I'm sure everyone's done it, but he's one of the most vocal game designers about it, in that it's kind of introducing you to how the treasures are found. So that first treasure we found is just out in the open. The second one we found was behind a block that we had to destroy, so that's kind of telling you that things are hidden. And yeah, okay, I fucked up, but this one's showing you that there can be sort of puzzles behind finding these treasures. See, if I hit the second one, then the lava shows up and I can't get the treasure, and I can't get my gold, and I can't pay the rent, and can't buy my groceries, so I die. Kirby dies. Kirby can't pay the rent. Okay, so be a little more careful. And, so it also kind of shows that you can miss stuff, right? Because that first one, it was out of the way, and, you could easily pass it if you didn't have power up or whatever. Yeah, so it's just the first screen. I think the music, too, it's an interesting choice that they chose something that's so... I don't know what the word is, energetic, maybe? Like, it's sort of like a fighting march, like, you're trying to move onwards and press onwards, so it kind of works well. I don't think it works, like, super well with the visual aspects of things, it's just this colorful jungle. But I can see what they're getting at, so, good on them. And I can't do this one, so I have no idea how to do that. Try it one more time. Okay, so I'm just gonna give up for the sake of time. And Jesus Christ. So I think I'm just like much worse at games now because I hardly play them anymore because I'm always working on them. Yeah, so they've already managed to do a few like interesting things with the design of where they're hiding these treasures. So that room was a little bit more open than the previous ones. And this is just them playing out. Okay. Oops. And so I've always wanted to kind of see a modern day like reimagining of this, kind of like a treasure hunting game that doesn't have, you know, upgrades or stuff like that. It's just totally like exploration based. One thing I kind of have a complaint about is that all these items in Great Cave Offensive, how do I save my game? Okay, I don't know if I saved my game. I'm just gonna do a save state because I don't know what I'm doing. Anyways. So my complaint is that these items are kind of like irrelevant to the game world, and they're not really tied in with anything at all. They just seem sort of just to be random. Like, you know, I just found a candy bar here, and the other items so far have been like a sword and a whip. And I appreciate the variety, but I think that if you want to do something like this now, you know, there's a lot of... Not that it really changes the gameplay at all, but there's a lot of ways that you could make your world more interesting, or maybe, like, you know, put in some sort of, like, thematic material, symbolism, based on what you choose the items to be, or if you give them a use. Like, another issue is that these items don't have any use, other than being kind of like an arbitrary progress marker towards how much stuff you found. Okay, I don't know how to do this. Get rid of that. Alright, well... Okay, so I'm not gonna go for 100% because that would just be insane, and doing everything doesn't really contribute to the point of this video. Oh, please. Okay. One of the things that hasn't been set up yet so far is how the world of Great Cave Offensive is structured, and we might get to it in the video if I can get to the boss. I kept dying in the other recording. But what I think is always interesting is how a game handles how to lay out its world, because you can really set a precedent for, I guess, the feeling of your world. You know, I'm sure you've played JRPGs or any sort of like adventure game with a world map, and those do a good job at kind of getting you excited at what else is out there. And Great Cave Offensive doesn't do that. What they do instead is they connect these different like biomes. So there's like this is like the jungle level, and there's a castle level, and like a dream world level, and then a like a cave sort of mines level. And what they do is they connect them all with these little like minecart rides. And you can never really tell whether or not the intention was, this sort of design was intentional by whoever made these choices, but I think that works well for the Great Cave Offensive because you want to give the sense that you're sort of trapped in this world, trapped in this small little like series of caves, and trying to get Kirby out of them. And so that works well versus, you know, the other approach, which would be to have like a stage select of some sort. Oh, fuck off. A stage select or like a world map. I don't think that would work very well. And so I think a good option of a world map that is still stage selecty would be, I like Donkey Kong Country too. Okay. And the reason that is because Donkey Kong Country 2, it has these sort of, all of its biomes kind of connect together in a sensical way. Like there's a volcano place that's near the bottom where the ground opens up, and then that leads way to a marsh, and that opens way to like some like sort of like misty amusement park biome. Ouch. This is unfortunate. And yeah, that's good because when you do something that makes your world feel like it's coherent, it makes it easier, I think, for someone to make an interpretation of it. If what you're going for in the game is like a world that's connected together. I mean, there's cases where you want to have more like jarring juxtapositions of areas, and that's like something we did in Anodyne with the areas. You know, there's not, in a lot of the cases, there's not a lot of there's some cases where the areas are put together in a logical manner, like a forest goes to like the beach. But at the same time, we also want to take advantage of the ability to move someone from place to place in a jarring manner, and what that can do for sort of, I guess, the interpretation of the world. Anyways, this isn't really designed, but I'm always like curious. Like, who came up with the idea for, like, a whale? You know, I am thinking about the world of this game, and being, like, a nighttime, like, ocean in a cave with a whale, this doesn't, I don't know, nothing really makes sense about it. Which is fine, I mean, the game's still fun. But I think, like, nowadays, you know, with all these games we've seen so far, if you're gonna make a game, you know, you want to, you know, make these things not arbitrary and, like, senseless. Because we have, you know, we don't have, like, 20 games of, like, game history for nothing. Yeah, so I guess, if you make a great Cave Offensive clone, let me know. Do something interesting with it, of course. You know, it doesn't have to be with the mechanics, maybe just make something really interesting about the world. Yeah, another thing about the boss fight that's weird is, you know, why can't I leave the room? Why does the camera freeze in place? There's no, like, logical explanation to that. And I know that's being anal, like, a lot of things. Yeah, especially, like, this entire room, nothing makes sense about this. Look at the space background. I think when you see stuff like this, especially with the music, like, I think it's a good sign that there's nothing to be really gained from an overt analysis of why they chose the background to be space or whatever. Although, I don't know, it's always worth thinking about a little bit, because, you know, you could be wrong. It's kind of like with a lot of contemporary art. There's a friend told me that there's like sort of this thing called like a what the fuck factor, and of rating contemporary art, and it's kind of like, you know, how much do you say what the fuck is this when looking at the piece of art. And I think that is something you can also do with like game worlds. Although in some cases, you know, it's just arbitrary, which I think was the case for Kirby. Or maybe not. Maybe there was some like hidden meaning behind choosing all of this, but if there is some meaning, it's very hard to ascertain. Yeah, so we made our way out of the jungle into this this kind of cave world, which is hinted at in the title screen. Which is another thing I think is nice, is like hinting at some important part of the game through something earlier. And that's not really like a game mechanics thing again, it's more like a thematic, like, world design sort of thing. But it's a nice touch. You know, the game starts with this sort of like crystal field in the background, and so you're wondering in your mind, you know, when am I gonna see this place, or how is it gonna fit into the game? Yeah, and so this is the cave place. We'll check out what's here. I'm not gonna go ahead and explore all these places, but it's another sort of water cave, swimming area, and then yeah, it's like orangey place, and I know this one leads to the next area. Yeah. So I'm gonna save my game, and I think that'll be it. Save state. Okay, and thanks for listening to me ramble, and I'll see you in the next part.